On blast.
And we are live. This is the Wrap It Up Ball on Blast Raps post-game show. A little bit of a different vibe today, but we're still okay. We're still here. Raps fall. Lose their second game of the year.
Yep.
126-110. Again, 126-110. The Raptors fall to the Pelicans, or should we say the Drew Holiday, Etuan Moore show. Crazy game. Again, 126-110. My name is Sheldon Alexander. Thank you for joining us on the Wrap It Up post-game show. Hello, Instagram, those watching at Sheldon Alexander. Send us your questions. Send us your takes. What went wrong for the Raps? Let us know. We'll try to get to all your comments. And, of course, to those people watching the live feed, as always, on Twitter, at Shell Alexander. Click the link and join in on the conversation on Periscope. Same thing. Ask us questions. Let us know your take. What went wrong for the Toronto Raptors tonight? Raptors lose their second game of the season, 126-110. In a game that I don't know if many people were worried about, quote unquote. But I feel like basketball heads kind of knew that this could be a tough one for the Raps, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, especially with Miricic not playing too. But I think I had a little weird feeling. I thought it'd be one of those games, and you're right, Drew Holiday. Ice in the veins.
It was a crazy game, and like from the get-go, the Raptors just had no juice in this game at all.
Yeah, it felt like they're always down by 8 or 9. And then they'd mount to come back, and then it'd be down about 3 or 4, and then it'd be back to 8 or 9.
Yeah, they just couldn't get a run going.
No.
And two things about the Pelicans, right? First off, we know they have Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is a monster.
Best player in the league.
Yeah.
That's another
story for another day, but still,
yeah.
he's a dope player, right? So we know they have Anthony Davis, but the other thing that was super interesting about watching this game, you hear the stat that says the Pelicans lead the league in paint points, right? And you think that's going to be Anthony Davis and Julius Randle just playing bully ball. And we did see some of that. But really, to me, this game easily came down to two guys, and that was a court matchup. And right off the bat, I think this is where we have to start and talk about the fact. Let's read off some stat lines here. You have Etuan Moore, who had 30 points on 13 of 18 shooting, and Drew Holiday, who had 29 points on 12 of 19 shooting.
14 times.
On the flip side, Kyle Lowry, 4 points on 1 of 9 shooting. Danny Green, 3 points on 1 of 4 shooting.
Brutal.
This game basically was just that, no? Like,
Yeah,
Raptors guards outplayed?
You're exactly right, because Siakam had a pretty good game at the 4. Ibaka had a great game. JV didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, the guards were what took it tonight, and New Orleans guards just came up better on this night.
They were hitting every shot imaginable.
Yeah.
It was threes.
He always does that. It seems he always has good games against the Raptors. He's always up for that contest.
It was just a crazy performance by the Pelicans backcourt. And you're right. Every time the Raptors kind of made a little bit of a push, they'd run that, like, either one of those two guys would hit a crazy shot, or they'd run that pick and roll play, and the Raptors didn't have an answer for the pick and roll alley-oop pass to Anthony Davis or Julius Randle rolling to the basket. It was tough. And I feel like early on, this was the first, there's been a lot of talk about Kyle Lowry, and Kyle Lowry being, the man, the MVP of the team, all that stuff. But yes, you mentioned the minutes. We know that we've seen Kawhi get some rest. Lowry got a bit of rest because it was a blowout against the Knicks. But do you think maybe he kind of ran out of gas in this game? A poor game for Kyle Lowry. We mentioned 4 points, but 1 of 9 shooting. Did have 11 assists, but 1 of 9 shooting. That can't happen.
Yeah, it caught up to him. He's been an animal for us and pouring on the minutes, and I think maybe by halftime he was getting outdueled by Holiday and tried to do a bit too much. I mean, he had the assists were there, but the efficiency for the shooting was not at all. And I think maybe it got to the point after half. I don't know how many shots he had in the first half to how many shots he had in the second half. Maybe you could check that after. But
Kyle?
Yeah, but it seemed like maybe his shot selection in the second half was probably not the greatest, but because they were probably down by that time, right? See, I mean, a lot changes in basketball when you're up or down. When you're up, you have a little bit more time, and you can pass the ball 1-2 more times and have a great shot. And when you're down, you want to do the Mike D'Antoni under 7 seconds, get the ball up, shoot it, hopefully grab a rebound, right? And so, I mean, it's an off game for him, of course, but I'm not going to hold anything against him. But he definitely got outplayed tonight.
Yeah, they definitely got outplayed, and the Raptors as a team shot 40% from the floor, which I think improved towards the very end of the game. But for the most part, they were in the low 30s. They were not shooting well at all, especially from three-point land. They started the game 1 of 9 from 3, and that just continued throughout the entire game. They only shot, 13 to 45. That's 28% from 3. You're not going to win many games when that happens, and sticking with Lowry, you're not going to win many games when Kyle Lowry scored his first field goal in this game. I wrote it down somewhere. Kyle Lowry's first field goal came with 3:44 left in the fourth quarter. Right? Like, that's his first field goal of the game.
Yeah, you couldn't really. That's what I said. I didn't really notice him that much.
Yeah.
I guess I was watching other stuff, and we'll talk about on the Raptors side. We'll talk a little bit more about that later in the show.
Yeah, it was a bad game for the Raptors and Kyle Lowry in particular. Exactly, it's gonna happen.
Guys, it's gonna happen. We're not gonna go 81-1. Right? Like, there are gonna be times like this, and I was just telling Sheldon before we're going on live here to everybody. It was like, this is a little weird because usually
Raptors fans have been spoiled
all the
so far.
Raptors fans know when we come on, it's giddy. Raptors win. Still can't believe Kawhi's on the team, but this stuff's gonna happen. But there were a couple encouraging signs in the loss. That's what you got to look for. Whenever there's a loss, is there anything you can take from the loss that is an encouraging sign going forward?
Yeah.
And there was, and again, we'll get into that after.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I just think the one thing with the Raptors, right? A poor shooting night for everyone. I mean, Kawhi, for everyone that's not named Pascal Siakam, which we'll get to.
Who's been tearing it up.
Yeah, we'll get to him. But
Eastern Conference Player of the Week.
Right? Even Kawhi Leonard, 7 of 20. It was weird, too. I felt like early on, especially in the fourth quarter, when things got kind of tough, the Raptors fell into this trap where they weren't really running offense. They were more just kind of like trying to give it to Kawhi and let him kind of clear out. And it wasn't really working.
ISO ball, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, that's not what's going to happen. And you mentioned kind of the shot selection that Lowry had.
Yeah.
There were a bunch of times where Lowry just came down the court and tried to hit that deep three that he always tries to get himself going.
Yeah, the cocky three, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not going to happen. Listen, the ISO ball isn't going to happen for Kawhi when everybody else shot isn't working.
Yeah,
the reason it happens is because the defense on the other team is a little timid and nervous where they can't leave a man open and double team. So that's when you get Kawhi the ISO ball. That's when he does the 3-dribble step, boom, in your face, right?
Yeah.
When it's not happening for everybody else, they're going to put more pressure on Kawhi, and clearly they did tonight because everybody else's shot besides Siakam really wasn't going in.
It was a very interesting game because I felt like the other part was we talked about the Raptors bigs, right? Obviously that was a key part that we brought up throughout the whole year, every single night. And this was the first time I think we saw them they got dominated, right?
But it's by Anthony Davis.
It's by Anthony Davis.
Who is the guy that we always compared him to. And I wanted to just quickly say something to all the YouTube community out there. What's up? There was a message on there, very good one too.
Okay.
And I'm going to do my due diligence in doing this if he's listening. I'm going to go through the stats of every single team, the minutes and points, because we usually do points and rebounds.
Yeah.
For the starting center, and the backup center.
Okay.
And because the point he made was it's unfair, the comparison that we're doing.
It's 48 minutes.
Because it's 48 minutes, which is true. But the reason we do that, and JV didn't have a good game tonight, was because the majority of the teams that have that dominant center, i.e. the Anthony Davis and Joel Embiid, is their backup center ain't doing nothing.
Exactly.
He's really playing 9 to 10 minutes. So I'm going to do that next game or next time on. We'll do that and we'll see. But to our point of what we do, this is a true center. Anthony Davis put up, I think, 25 and 20. Yeah. And when we do the comparison with our two centers, that's what he does. Yes, it's 10 more minutes to Anthony Davis, but the backup probably had 1.1 rebounds, so it works out. But this is a true center, guys. This is somebody that is an elite center in the league. We know I say one of the best in the league. Anthony Davis came out tonight kind of quietly because Jrue Holiday took over.
Yeah, 25 and 20, as you said.
That's insane.
Do you know what the interesting part is? And I noticed this from when they announced the starters, and Matt Devlin made the point of saying the Pelicans don't like to refer to any of their guys as a center. They start three forwards, which I just found to be like
Who, Randall,
him, and Wesley Johnson.
Yeah.
Right? And I just find it interesting because it's like that's just such a random thing, but you know that's just
politically correct.
Yeah, no, but that's like Anthony Davis being like, I don't want to be a center.
Yeah.
Do you know what
He's
it
a
looks like?
center.
You're playing center,
Yeah.
but you don't want to be
I
labeled
mean,
a
Julius
center.
Randle could play the 5 sometimes, but
Sure.
he's the 4. And
But those two guys, right? Because, instead of, we're talking about just bigs in general.
Yeah.
And so 25 and 20 from Davis, 17 and 12 from Julius Randle. And we look at the Raptors bigs, the matchup that we're normally focused on,
Siakam and Ibaka.
which is Ibaka and Valanciunas.
I thought, because you
Right?
said Randall, I thought you were talking about the 4. Okay.
But
yeah.
I was just thinking, like, the way that they play, dominating the paint, we saw that and more in this game.
Yeah.
Ibaka, 19 and 14, shot
That's a
8
good
of 16, 50% from the floor. Not going to complain about that, but JV didn't really give them much.
No, yeah. JV and Kyle, those were the two
Yeah.
off games, and maybe the reason
It
he
happens.
got blown out. Exactly.
It's just
right?
it's just a bad matchup for the Raps with those guys because
Yeah, Randall's a beast, and I'm sure that on a couple pick and rolls, him and Davis switched on both, right? Yeah, listen, guys, when he was in LA and that trade, that was a great pickup by New Orleans, and they lost to Marcus Cousins, but got even more of a versatile guy. I'm not saying he's better, but you know what I mean.
what you're
They
saying.
definitely made up for that, right?
It's not as much of a drop off as people might think. Like on paper, you think like
He was
it's
one
massive.
of the Pascal Siakam most improved kind of breakthrough fantasy player star that was coming out. Julius Randle.
So
right?
you mentioned Pascal Siakam, right?
Yeah,
And we
let's
know
do this.
coming into this
Let's
game, Pascal Siakam was named the NBA's Eastern Conference Player of the Week, which is a massive, massive, massive accomplishment for Pascal Siakam. 22 points, 8 of 12 shooting, did his normal efficient thing. And this was a game where,
3 blocks.
I think overall, we got to make the point here for Raptors fans, as you said. Yes, it's only the second game of the year, but as you mentioned, and I'm going to point out someone here in the chat as well.
Second
they say
loss of the year.
Second loss of the year, but they're saying main reason we lost, shots weren't falling. Yeah. And sometimes it's just that simple. A bad shooting night, it's going to happen. The whole team doesn't shoot well except for Serge and Siakam, 8 for 12. We continue to see the growth of Pascal Siakam, and the thing to me was, I wrote it down. Just think about this for a second, right? You have one guy on your team, and there were plays where you saw this one person grab rebounds, go coast to coast, and one lands. You saw that same guy step out and shoot threes. Yeah. You saw that same guy guard and block Anthony Davis. Like, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, you know what I mean? There's a few guys that can do that in the league.
He's doing everything. Like you said, he's grabbing rebounds, running the floor, and getting it. If you're a hockey fan, he's doing what Bobby Orr used to do. Okay, he probably even put his head down after he got the bucket. He's grabbing rebound. He's getting 3 blocks. Now, since I think it was last game, he was 3 for 4 shooting the threes. Now he's shooting threes again. He's doing it all. Spicy P, as they like to call him. I call him Roadrunner because he's so damn quick.
Yeah.
But whatever anybody wants to call him, Pascal Siakam is definitely a mainstay in the NBA, and I'm just glad that the Raptors got him. Shout out to that draft pick.
Yeah, I mean,
the high 20s. And shout out to my cousin, by the way, too. Johnny Goots, what's up? I saw you, buddy.
Hey, I'm scrolling through here on Instagram. Oh, there we go. He says, tell Mr. Bellamo I say what up. Okay.
What up, cuz?
Just going to more comments here. Oops, I waved at someone because I'm hitting the wrong button here, but that's okay. Can we dub that L as a brow beating? Brow beating. I got you now. Yes.
Do you think this is a little off topic, Oregon? But
that's all right.
The brow, man. We got to talk about. Clearly, most gentlemen would just go and wax that up. Do you think it's the statement of him? Do you think he's like Nike or whoever it is endorsing, saying you cannot
for sure
shave that? Yeah,
he had a thing last year, right? I forget what the company was,
where he said he was going to shave it off.
It was like an April
Fool's
joke.
So it's definitely like that's an insurance policy type, like J-Lo's ass.
I think so, and I think the thing too with Anthony Davis is like, what is the worry of
having a brow when you're the man?
Yeah, like it doesn't really matter. It's not like it's stopping you from, being doing pretty well with the ladies.
The ladies, yeah.
Right? I'm going to assume he still doesn't have problems with females.
Maybe that
And
inch
if he
stole a
likes it-
little wax and he might do a little better. But
If he likes it, I mean, I don't know.
yeah,
right?
I guess he does. Yeah.
Again,
back to the
interesting
game,
game,
though.
and the game was over in the first half. Raptors starting front court of Kawhi, Siakam, and
I thought they made a couple pushes. No, you said the game was over in the half, and yeah, technically, but I thought they made a couple pushes, even when it was down by 14, and OG made that and one.
No, I'll agree.
And they're down by 11 because the Raptors
I'll agree with
are
you.
so good and flamboyant, and just everything can happen at the drop of the dime. There, you kind of get used to this winning streak, and I did think maybe, but I think Drew Holiday came back and iced the three right in their veins and put it back to 14. Then Nick Nurse cleared the bench, and it was done.
You're right, actually. I think they did have, it was only 6 at the half, right? That wasn't really the problem. The problem was, I think, when they came out in the third quarter.
A lackluster third quarter. Yeah.
They came out all right. Siakam gave them a little bit of something, but I still think what ended up happening was, again, the shot killers, Drew Holiday, just dominated that matchup. And every time, the shots they were hitting, though, that was a thing.
Yeah.
And the Raptors, there's a moment where they're making the run, coming back. Kawhi grabbed a monster rebound off of OG miss, and then passed it back out to OG. OG missed the three again, and it was just like, okay, shots aren't falling for this team today. And no matter what they did on the defensive end, because the bench came in and did a very good job, solid minutes from Fred and DeLon in the backcourt, and OG, right? You wanted to talk a bit about OG. And 17 points in this game. We saw a bit of everything from OG. What are you liking so far? Not only this game, but the recent run from him.
That was what I was saying. Whenever you get an L, doesn't matter if it's by a point or 20 points, you always try to, especially with a team that's as good as this and growing, you want to, with young players, you want to look at what was good out of this game, what came from it. And two things, we probably know this already now, but Pascal Siakam is here to stay. Mm-hmm. But OG now, I call him the Siakam light in a sense. They're not the same player, but he's starting to put consistent games together. I think he had 15, 16, and 17 today, 3 steals. He's a menace on defense. His three-point shot is good. He's cramming it
hard
to the net hard. Clearly, he's over the injuries that were at the beginning of the year from, and that's just big. Like, yes, we knew that OG and Siakam were our future, but guys, really, Raptors fans, like, don't tell me that you had it cemented, get it tattooed on your arm, that these guys are going to be the cornerstone in the next 5 years. We didn't know. Yeah. So to see this bringing of Pascal and OG, it's refreshing and it's good. And I think that's what makes these Raptor teams so dangerous, is to add in the vets of Kawhi and Kyle, and then the two sophomores, if you want to say, in a sense, you know what I mean?
No, I hear you.
It's just, it's come together beautifully, and I'm very high on OG. Siakam the same, but he's already solidified himself. So I think OG is the next bright spot for the Raptors.
You're right. It was
the last 3 games prove that.
It was super cool to see those two guys continue to have good games and just continue to make an impact, right? And we got to see a lot of different lineups from Nick Nurse in this game. We saw a lineup that had Siakam, Kawhi, and OG out there as the front line.
Pretty good, pretty evenly.
Yeah. He tried a lot of, this game was an interesting one because you were down, you got to try out a lot of different lineups. Yeah. I mean, it was weird looking for a spark in the first half. He even went to Lorenzo Brown super early just to give them a little something. And I think Lowry really needed a rest, but you wanted to have another ball handler in there with Fred and DeLon.
Yeah.
So we got to see a lot of just interesting matchups, and there were still positives to take from this game. And, OG Anunoby, the thing with him, to me, he missed a bunch of threes in this game, but that's okay. I think the fact that he's shooting them more consistently, other teams are going to have to start respecting that, and he'll shoot better than 2 for 8.
Yeah,
it's not going to happen.
He's definitely not timid. He'll put him up, which is good. Mm-hmm. He's got to feel his rhythm, and he put up a lot of shots, but he hit, I'd say, half of them. But it's definitely a good sign that he's got the coach's confidence, right?
Yeah, and that's a big part of it, right? Because he's going to get major minutes coming off that bench, depending on the game too. And
then it's good too if an injury happens. Fingers crossed, but we know that he's the next one up.
Yeah,
to be there if say Danny Green went down or
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Speaking of, CJ Miles did get hurt, so that's going to mean a lot more minutes
on the
for
bench for
OG for sure.
I have him on my
as CJ
fantasy
Miles
team,
goes
so
down.
good.
The Raptors, though, here's the thing. With OG and, I think Pascal Siakam getting player of the week is definitely going to put him on the scouting report now. Like, I feel like the jury's out on Pascal, right?
Yeah.
No, the jury, that's not what I meant to say. But you know what I'm trying to say,
I
right?
do know what you're trying
The news is out on Pascal
Siakam.
Siakam.
Yeah,
He's probably going to be...
The email got transferred to everybody. Read all.
He's probably going to be in the scouting report, and that spin move that, seems to be unstoppable now. Maybe teams will be scouting for that soon. So it'll be interesting to see as the praise comes, can the kid make the adjustment? And I think he can.
Why not? Yeah,
because most of his games hustle.
Yeah. And I heard pre-game, I was listening to Coach Nurse was saying.
You almost said Coach Casey, didn't
yes,
you?
I did.
No,
Coach
it's
Nurse
going to take a while. I hear you.
That the two things he saw coming into the season were OG and Pascal and the work ethic they put in the summer, be it maybe because they had a sick feeling to their stomach the way they got kicked out by LeBronto, or just they felt it in their body, mind, and soul that this was going to be their coming out year.
Yeah.
But he said he acknowledges the work that they've done and it's clearly showing on the court.
For sure, and they want to get better. I think it was either yesterday or today, one of their recent media scrums, there was a quote from Nick Nurse that said he always gets random text messages from OG at like all times of the day and
Just
night, whatever.
Basketball questions?
Asking him basketball questions. And at one point,
that's a good sign.
He asked him, he's like, he said, "Hey, coach, how do I get fourth quarter minutes?" And he was like, "Hit the open three and play defense," or something like that.
And three?
And OG was like, "I already do that," or something like that, right? But so it's like a fun little back and forth.
You drink Hennessy. Ciroc? What? I mean, I already do that.
But it was just like fun to see that, this is a kid that wants to get better, that wants more.
Yeah, that's a good sign.
In spite the fact that he's behind Kawhi Leonard. You know what I mean? Like, he wants minutes.
He reminds me of, and forgive me, I mean, everybody, if you're watching in Canada, you get it. Hockey, of course, is just on par with basketball. He reminds me of Sammy Kapanen, who's on the hockey, just the won't quit, trying to get it, first line minutes, moving from the bench, hopefully to
Kasperi.
Kasperi Kapanen,
Yeah.
So we have the same on both the Leafs and the Raptors. We kind of have it's the same, the veterans and the young guns, and they're doing good on both ends.
Yeah. Again, young guys for the Raps tonight, Siakam and OG. I think those were the obvious, bright spots for the Raptors tonight. I don't know what happened to Kyle and Danny Green, but Kyle and Danny Green severely outplayed again. Danny Green and Kyle going a combined, 1 for 13 for 7 points? Mm-hmm. Or sorry, 2 for 13 for 7 points? That's not going to cut it from your starting backcourt. That, again, you still got assists from Kyle. You got okay defense from Danny Green. Okay, I say that because he had 5 fouls, and of course, either Etuan Moore or Holiday, they were cooking.
They were, yeah. Danny Green, it seems like he hasn't been himself the last couple of games. Mind you, when you just said the defense there, I was looking at his stats earlier, and I think he has 12 or 13 blocks on the season.
Yeah, which is weird. He's all over the place.
Is like it might sound like a lot or not. It's above average in the NBA. Which when you think of Danny Green, that double block on I think it was the first or second game of the season, but that a critic to the defense that he's playing and the hustle.
Yeah.
I guess.
Going back to the Instagram feed here, K2 Sanders says they killed us when we went small with KL and Freddie. I don't know if it's interesting take because that's just a normal Raptors rotation. Mm-hmm. And so when Freddie does come in pretty early, you do end up having that small backcourt. And I don't know, the way that Moore and Holiday were shooting, I don't think it mattered whether it was Freddie or whether it was, you brought in DeLon, who was a bigger guard. I don't know
if anyone would stop them.
Yeah.
They were hitting it. It was their night, yeah.
The thing, too, in the fourth quarter, we saw Nick Nurse make the adjustment where he switched up and had Kawhi guarding Holiday. And it slowed him up a little bit, but it's not like it stopped the momentum or stopped the run or anything, right? Yeah. So those guys were just on fire. And, again, you're talking about 12 of 19 and 13 for 18, respectively. Those shooting nights, you can't there's not much you can do when two guards are shooting like that.
Yeah, well, and also with the comment there too, I've noticed Van Fleet's got to get, he's got to start getting a couple more dimes. I feel
He was
like
doing okay. He's
got
okay,
3 assists, but
it's not so
he's
much.
he's the like OG and Siakam are stepping up, but we forget like from last year, like a lot of people would have came into the season thinking Van Fleet's gonna be our third option, or you know what I mean. I know he's gonna be coming off the bench, but right, he hasn't really flourished yet.
Do you know what it is? I think so. Last year, I would agree with you, and I think that he was the third most important. No. It's because of the style of play. There's so much, like, as much as they did start this ball movement offense, I think it was still highly reliant on iso ball. So it was Kyle, DeMar, or Fred. Those are your 3 guys, and 3 guys only that were creating a shot for themselves or for someone else. Whereas now the offense is a lot more free flowing, and minus Kyle, whose assist numbers are obviously through the roof,
leads the league.
Everyone else is passing the ball, moving the ball. So Freddie, I think he played well tonight, and I know that the 3 assists don't show.
Yeah.
But I feel like he controlled the offense, right? And like again, he set up some dudes. Maybe the shots didn't fall because they weren't, nobody was hitting shots. But I'm not that mad at Freddie. I think he played a solid. I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
though.
but that's another. That just shows to how deep the Raptors are. That like, man, we still got when Fred gets his game back. I mean, that's just another bang, a big weapon, right?
Yeah, and those guys are. You're right. They're working their way back.
I'm not worried. I mean, nobody is, but everything's gonna be groovy once it all starts clicking. And like they said, most of them are saying we don't think we've really played capable to how we can.
Yeah.
And man, that's scary if that's the truth.
Head into the chat here again on Periscope. Says it's all good. We could still go 80-2.
Yeah.
Another comment says Drew Holiday is super underrated. We went over that. Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
I mean, he was an all-star last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that we saw him. Was he an all-star last year? Did I make that up?
I think it was a reserve, was he not?
I think no, he definitely wasn't an all-star because it was Anthony Davis and Boogie were the two all-stars last year.
Yeah.
But his coming out party definitely was during the playoffs where we saw him like raise his game and he just like completely dominated.
He was the 76ers though, Drew, wasn't he?
He was an all-star with the Sixers. Yes. But he really showed off his full repertoire in terms of like it's not just offense, it's defense as well. And I think part of Kyle Lowry's struggles weren't just the fact that he wasn't hitting shots where he couldn't stop Drew Holiday.
He was playing like De'Aaron Fox defense on.
But I think Drew Holiday just plays really good defense. He's a tough guy to have to play against, right? Yeah. And that matters a lot in the NBA. And that's always one of my pet peeves. You know, we live in this, and I don't mean to tail off on too much of a tangent, but we get stuck a lot talking about like who's the best player in the NBA, who's the best player of this era and generation, and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And we bring up guys like Steph Curry. We bring up guys like James Harden. We bring up guys like, if you go back a generation, Melo. But those are guys that affect the game on one side of the floor.
Yes, yeah.
Right?
And really no two-way,
like Drew Holiday. Like Drew Holiday obviously isn't as good as those guys. I'm not saying that.
Of course not, yeah.
But I'm saying the way that he affects the game on both ends
floors,
of the floor.
Just not at that level. Yeah, but Kobe was that. Kobe would score you 30 every night. Yes, a lot of shots, and then he'd be one of the best defensive players on the floor.
Yeah.
So,
like I'm just saying, I just want to make the point about how like we forget sometimes in this age of Instagram where like we just see the dunks, the dunk highlights every night, right?
Or
the made
dunks.
threes. Yes, the made threes all the time. It's interesting or it's refreshing to see a point guard that guards his position really well.
Quietly and does it. Yeah.
Yes, and Drew Holiday not only put in work offensively, but he shut down Kyle Lowry tonight too. I was going to go to more comments here.
I just
we
wanted
got
to
a
say
lot of comments.
Quickly something before the comments. Guys, for those who follow basketball too outside of the Raptors, obviously, Karis LeVert.
Yeah.
A nasty, nasty injury. If you guys don't know who he is, he's the Pascal Siakam of Brooklyn. Most improved, was going to be probably shining. He had a nasty ankle break. And everybody wanted to probably see Mr. Jimmy Butler tonight, but he was a DMP.
No, they said he I think they already said he's going to play Wednesday.
But the 76ers won.
Yeah.
So, no. Just wanted to get those little tidbits in there.
Yeah, obviously.
Okay.
Another comment here says Pelicans backcourt didn't miss all night. Props to them for having their best game of the year. Simultaneously, our backcourt had their worst.
Yeah, it's a good point.
That'll happen. Still going here. We were talking earlier. You mentioned Anthony Davis's brow, and this person brings up the fact that AD's brow is equivalent to James Harden's beard.
Yeah.
Right? Like James Harden couldn't
Would
shave
never-
the
he
beard
couldn't
now.
Yeah. If you see, actually, there was, I don't know if it was a meme or something. I saw James Harden when he didn't
Oh
have
yeah,
the
the
beard.
rookie year
Wow.
picture. Yeah.
Man, two different people. Like,
Right?
it's crazy.
Completely
Yeah.
different person. More comments here, and again, we're here trying to join in the conversation, right? So we want people to send in the comments.
The
we love
questions
hearing
he's
it.
asking me or our players, whatever. Feed in all your answers, who you guys think, and the more the merrier.
Exactly. Pascal continues to amaze, scored more points in less minutes
Yep.
on much higher efficiency than Kawhi. That's true, but also that's a very good point. But I'll say that, he gets the ball in different
Yeah, they're
situations.
running the ball more through
Like-
Siakam just right now, and though that feels in those.
But like Kawhi, it's just like they dump him the ball and it's like, hey, Kawhi, go.
Yeah.
That doesn't really happen
yeah,
to
he's
Siakam.
getting the ISO. And,
Yeah, Siakam's getting the ball like in rhythm, like
rhythm
within the
and-
offense,
which is his game.
or on a fast break. Yes. And not that that's wrong, but maybe Kawhi should be getting some of those baskets as well, some easier baskets.
Yeah,
right.
Cutting
Yeah,
runs.
definitely. Let's see what else we got here. Kawhi, OG, Pascal on the same team. Lock clamp seasoned. Yep,
feel
true.
the same.
And Pascal showed his counter moves to his spin move. This guy is not a one-trick pony.
No, definitely not.
It's the glow up of Pascal Siakam.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I don't know, for those who might have caught the Knicks game on Saturday, I was talking with Beals, and Beals reminded me during that episode that he said on episode 1,
Yeah, I heard that.
Siakam could, and I was like, you were right, I was wrong, because I remember.
texted you too.
Yes,
I said,
yes.
turn up or turn down.
Right.
You do on the other podcast, the Ball Blast.
Yeah,
I said
yeah.
Pascal Siakam in the convo for
Yeah,
most improved.
It's crazy to see where this kid got to, and I will say you guys were on it. You were on it.
I
Beals
didn't
was
know
on
it
it
would
from
come this
episode 1.
fast.
I didn't know it was
But
coming
I
this
knew.
fast either.
But Nurse saw something,
Yeah.
just gave him more minutes, and it was a perfect timing.
And I'll give credit to Ola, or my boy Foots,
Yep.
who you see on this podcast. He's one of the DDS
Foots.
guys as well.
Shout
Foots
out
was
Q.
bringing up the Rico Hines runs in the summertime, right? And he said
he did.
that was a
I was
really
on that
big,
podcast,
yeah.
yeah.
He said that was a really big thing, that all those guys, it's like a famous runs in LA, and you'll have all the NBA's like top players are there running. And we did see the highlights of the Raptors bench mob out there participating in those runs, and people are said to, you're going to improve. You're
Yeah.
working out and playing against the
yeah.
best players for a solid week, and if you show out there, you're kind of on that radar.
Yeah.
And the Raps bench mob, they were a problem there in those runs. And so as that trickled out throughout the internet and across social media now, because everything's on a camera phone, there were some people that were quicker than others
the hype
to
was,
get
the hype
to
train was coming. In the
yes,
summer.
to get to this Pascal Siakam train.
I'm just glad that it came out this year with Pascal as opposed to maybe next year, where it takes a couple of years sometimes, right? But it just, like I said, with him and OG coming into their own this year, it shows Kawhi can see the future here, right? And whether that will stamp a sign in here or not, but I mean, that's definitely something he's looking for. If it's going to be stable here, if it's going to be a long run, or it's just a one and done type thing, right? So, I mean, that definitely bodes well for him possibly signing.
No, I agree with you there. We got another question here, Mike, and I want to know your take on this.
Sure.
What do you think about Pascal's first minutes at the 5? Do you agree with that? Do you think it's something that could work? Because I think
I like it because then that gives OG a little bit more time on the floor with Pascal at the 4.
Yeah.
Now, is that going to happen all the time? No, because you got Serge and JV there. The only reason because
They're
I
playing
think
well.
JV was having a horrible game.
Yeah.
But yes, I like it. And again, I want Nurse to be doing these things because, barring an injury, it won't be just okay. Now we got to do this, right?
Guys are prepared for these different things,
Not that they're NBA players, not that they need that much, but it just
No,
kind of gets
but
in the
it's
flow
real.
and stuff like that. Yeah, I like that because then you could put probably two of your hardest hustlers and OG and Siakam both on the floor, and that's dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the things we talked about from early in the year, right? I've always thought that I'd wanted to see that matchup where Siakam's at the 5, OG's at the 4, then you got Kawhi, Danny Green, and Kyle. It's kind of like your small but like defensive lockdown. We're getting in passing lanes.
Yes.
We saw glimpses of that
Up
tonight.
by 3, you know what I mean?
Or even just
Roll
down
that
by
out.
3. You need to get back in the game and
You're
you
right,
need stops.
stop, yeah.
They kind of tried to go for that, but you know, they just didn't have it tonight. And
No.
they got the stops, they just didn't get the shots or enough of the shots. They cut it to 6 at one point?
Yeah.
But they just couldn't get over that hump. They couldn't hit the shots to do it. But I don't know. I just think it's an interesting thing. And seeing Pascal at the 5, it's totally matchup driven as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. The 5 that he's gonna be playing against is gonna be more of
Well, as you said, the 5 he's playing against, but also for OG to play at the 4, it depends on who the other team's 4 is as well, right?
Yeah.
So it's something that can be done, but I think it's so much more dependent
because OG's
upon,
a small 4. Right.
It's a tough ask.
Yeah.
He can do it.
But I mean, yeah.
But it's a tough ask.
I like that again. Nurses mixing and matching.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the beginning of the season, so if you're gonna do it, you do it now and see what you got.
Yeah.
It's working.
Again, for those just tuning in, the Toronto Raptors fall 126-110 to the New Orleans Pelicans. Raptors drop to 12-2 on the season. No
Still
big
good.
deal.
Still in first.
Yeah, and I think the reality here is they were going to lose more games this season. Like, that's not a thing that was, like they were going to lose games this season. Like, it happens.
Like one viewer said, we could still go 80-2.
Right?
Was this a trap game? Was it for the Coach Casey return?
I don't know. I mean,
no, but that's a big game coming up, Detroit, because of that. But
Detroit is a very interesting game.
I think they'll get back on track on Wednesday.
It's just a bad.
It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
And the New Orleans is a good team. Right.
And the reality, too, is that the Raptors did not play well at all on Saturday, right? They definitely did not have their legs back.
Yeah.
They did not have their legs back. They're super tired. And now you had a couple more days, so you still can't use being tired as an excuse in this game.
Especially when Kyle and Kawhi did get
some rest on Saturday. But, I mean, something is up to me when I see Kyle Lowry go 1 for 9, right?
Yeah.
Like, to me, I'm like, he's tired legs. He just didn't have much energy at all in this game. Yeah. And, hey, that happens. Especially with the start this guy's had. I'm not going to knock Kyle Lowry for that. We'll see how they bounce back. As you mentioned, big game, reception for Dwayne Casey. What are you thinking? What should the fans base do for Dwayne Casey on Wednesday?
Well, I definitely see a scoreboard tribute.
Yeah, video tribute, Coach Case for sure.
Thing.
Something about Pound the Rock, right? That was his thing.
I mean, listen, he was the coach for definitely our better seasons as a franchise.
The best run in franchise history is under Dwayne Casey. That is a fact.
I mean, we didn't do this for O'Neal or anybody. I liked Carter, Butch Carter because of of those days. But I mean, when it comes down to the nitty gritty, Coach Casey was our rock as the head coach. So they're definitely going to do something for him. And
you know what I think?
But nothing.
I don't know. I go the other way. I think they go overboard because they kind of feel
because
bad about how it went down.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think they'll try to overcompensate for how bad it went down. And the fans for sure, I mean, I should say for sure, but sometimes I wonder about the crowds at the ACC now because I kind of wonder, and I know it's not the ACC. I just don't care to call it Scotiabank Arena. Because I'm not cutting checks off that, so whatever, right? But the fans that are there, I hope, and the reason why I say I hope is because I fear that a lot of real fans are getting slowly priced out of the arena because it sounds really quiet at times.
God, I hope not. Yeah.
It sounds really quiet at times.
Because the Raptors fans are one of the best.
Exactly. So I hope those great fans are there on Wednesday to give Dwayne Casey a standing O. Because Dwayne Casey had the best run, as you mentioned, in franchise history. Dwayne Casey, he improved each and every year. The team's record improved in each and every year that he was a coach. But then also add in the fact of, the development of Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan under Coach Casey. And as much as Kyle and Casey butted heads, I think a lot of that was because Coach Casey was kind of like, that like annoying dad, for lack of a better term, that always was staying on you. Yeah.
Would arafter the game give him a arm over the shoulder.
Yes. You know what I mean? Like hard on you, but it was for your betterment in the long run. And I just think that like the Raptors, the way that they won all those years, they weren't more talented than a lot of these teams.
No,
they just
coach,
They hustled. They played defense, right? They grinded out wins.
Be where Nurse is right now, right? So that was his
I'm interested to see that.
Oh, they're all the Raptor players, and then we're gonna go over.
No. I mean the Nurse Casey thing, because there's like some rumblings that maybe they're not.
Animosity.
This is not cool. You know what I mean? There's right.
You're supposed to leave if I leave. And
who knows? Well, I'm trying to tiptoe around what I say here, but I did always find it kind of weird that in hindsight, I'm definitely saying this in hindsight, that last year there were a lot of stories written about the Raptors' new offense and the fact that it was assistant coach Nick Nurse.
Yeah.
And I just found it weird that there were so many articles written by
credit for Casey. Yeah.
No, but
on
it was
the
like
offensive side. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was like national stories written in the States by like the New York Times or ESPN or whatever about Nick Nurse's new offense. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, hey, shout out to you, Nick Nurse, but I just found it kind of odd in hindsight looking back and being like, oh, okay, so Casey wanted, obviously the whole way through, Casey wanted to get a new contract.
Yeah.
They weren't going to give him a new contract. But here's some dialogue about who this assistant coach is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So then, so that when the time comes, it's not completely out of nowhere.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
There's idiots like me that can be like, oh no, Nick Nurse isn't that bad. He has a new offense. He's that guy, right?
Exactly. Yeah, someone leaked it for sure.
So I don't know if Casey feels, Casey's speech, I don't if you remember his speech at the NBA Awards when he got Coach of the Year. Definitely sounded kind of salty, which, I mean, I don't blame him for.
Salty Kyle, salty Casey.
Right? I don't blame him for. So I'm interested to see all that. I want to see
it's going to be a good game.
I'm going to like spot shadow and see the like breakdown of the Casey Nick Nurse handshake.
Yeah.
Casey better get a standing O.
Yeah, he will.
And the video, I agree with you.
Yep.
Better have a video for Coach Casey. Someone here says, that's true. Raptors crowd seems a little quiet recently. I'm not sure why.
Well, I know why. It's because you were exactly right. We got the big prize in Kawhi, and what are they going to do? Well, let's raise the price a little bit, right? And then the scalpers run the second game out there too, right? So they're probably
the scalpers, but then the teams also get a cut off of that team. So
it's not as easy to get a ticket these days in Toronto.
There's a lot going on in Raptors land, and you know what? Hopefully the Raptors can bounce back after this 126-110 loss at home to the Pelicans. Again, the high scorers in this game, Etuan Moore. Yeah, Etuan Moore. If I asked the majority of Raptors fans before the game who Etuan Moore was, do you think they'd know?
Was he on the Magic before?
He's bounced around a bit.
I think he was in Orlando before. But
he's bounced around a bit, but not a lot of people would know who Etuan Moore is.
Big game.
Massive game for Etuan Moore. Massive game for J-Rue the Damager, J-Rue Holiday. And the Raptors fall, but that's okay. They get a nice chance to bounce back against the Pistons at home on Wednesday. And then, of course, the big game everyone's looking forward to, Friday in Boston. And they wrap up the week with a back-to-back on Saturday night in Chicago. So still a big week ahead for the Raptors, and you lose this game, that's all right. Fine. Still a tough week ahead. Hopefully they can bounce back, and hopefully you will be back with us to join us as we always wrap things up on the Wrap It Up postgame show. Bellamo, where can the people find you, man?
You guys can find me on Instagram. Add me up. Mike Bello, BELLO_6. Add me up. Hit me up.
That's on Instagram.
It's on Instagram, guys. Yeah. Hey. Mike Bello_6.
And I want to shout out someone in the comments. If I was really planning this out properly, I would have the comments in front of me so I could give the person credit. But the person was chirping me for saying that at the start of the podcast, I take too long with the intros. Right?
Yeah. If there's a skip button.
Yeah, is there a skip button so we could just get to it, right? Which, cool. I understand your point, but the reason why that's done is so that people who are new to it can see if you stumble upon it, right? You got to be able to know, where can I find it?
And I'll put a pretty hefty bet that majority of shows probably have the first minute or two.
True.
That kind of introductory. But you don't go, and we are live. So Kyle Lowry had 11 assists and something like right? But thank you everybody for the comments, whether it's positive or negative or not even negative, just everything. Guys, this is a community show. This is the best season of the Raptors. We just want to hear feedback. Who you guys thought was the best player, the X Factor, why or why not? Throw in the comments and the YouTube, subscribe. Please hit that like button as well. We support and we thank everybody. We got a lot of views in the last week. You're saying over 10K.
Yeah, 10,000 views on the last week. Last week on all the post-game shows. So 10,000, that's crazy. I don't know. I just see that stuff and I'm like, that's cool.
Too, guys. We're definitely listening. We're here to try to make you guys enjoy it as much as possible.
For sure. And to my guys saying the intros are too long, hopefully I shortened it enough for you. But the closing of the podcast will always be the same because it takes that long for me to explain all these things, right? Because this is the Wrap It Up podcast, which we do live after each and every Raptors game, which you can see live on Twitter at Shell Alexander, or you can join in the chat room on Instagram at Sheldon Alexander and ask questions. Join in the conversation there. But for the people that, you know, maybe you go to bed early, maybe you got to watch the news before you go to bed. Exactly. You're not up late, but you want to find out the Raptors takes the next day on your morning commute or while you're sitting at work. We flip that into a podcast, which you can listen to on iTunes, on SoundCloud, on Google Play. Just search On Blast Podcast, and you will see the Wrap It Up podcast. And, of course, again, shout out to all the people on YouTube. Yes. Special shout out to the people watching on YouTube at work. We keep getting a bunch more messages about people saying that they're watching on work. Again, we're not here to snitch, so I'm not going to say your name on on the broadcast, right? But shout out to you guys for tuning in and watching with us, because I always quote the wise words of Meek Mill. I really did used to pray for times like this to rhyme like this. This is the Wrap It Up Ball on Blast Raps postgame show. As always, unpolished and unapologetic. Until next time, see ya.
Peace.
On blast.